Uh, yeah. So I hope that you people are able to, have your lunch, a quick bite, and you are back to joining this class. So this class is, would typically be by, or this is this, timing for uh, organization development and change management. And I welcome Ms. Rekha Bhagwat to this particular class. I'm thankful to you, ma'am, for having agreed to do it and to give a little introduction. I have already shared our profile on the, on the WhatsApp group. But to share this is that she is one of the, I won't get into more details. She is one of the best behavioral science trainer that I have come across, right? The very good facilitator. She has worked practically all her life in the BHEL, and had rose to the level of general manager in HRD, and she was one of the regular, for a long time she was in HRDI, Human Resource Development Institute of BHL. Presently, after retirement, she is a senior advisor to NISBAT on training, and particularly on the international training. So with that very brief introduction, I welcome Ms. Bhardwaj to this group, and would request you to carry on now.
So thank you, Kaushal sir, for such a warm introduction. And dear participants, very warm welcome to these few classes that we are going to be having on organization development. So the first class typically would focus on what is OD and comparing it to the other change process interventions. And then next time we will do models of OD and then take it forward. So before I start, I thought let me briefly meet you and get to know about you, your background, your expectations, uh, what made you choose OD as a subject uh, to specialize in. So let's hear a little bit about all of you. I would request you to kindly switch on your cameras like Arun has, and that makes it more interesting. After all, we are into people management, and unless I see people, I have difficulty in relating to what's happening. So please switch on your cameras and introduce yourself. Yeah, follow me. Thank you. Follow me. You have to unmute yourself when you talk.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Can I speak?
Good afternoon. Hello, Ruchi.
Yeah. Would you like to have an introduction also for myself?
Yeah. So to know you, little about the organization and background that you're working in, and also that what draws your interest to this particular stream of training and development.
Yeah, Madam, I'm Ruchi Singh, presently working in a Scale 5 cater in Life Insurance Corporation of India.
Mm-hmm.
My profile, I have been into administration activities earlier in the organization, and but presently since last 5 years, I'm into training, and I was training earlier, our administrative staff in class 1, 2, and 3 cadres. But presently now I am training our field force, our development officers who are doing marketing, who are getting business for us, and also our agents who are very good agents who are doing a lot of business, good business for the organization. So I'm into training activities since last 5 years. My object for joining ISTD was to sharpen my skills as a trainer, learn new skills, and be a part of a trainer fraternity wherein I am able to deliver better as a person, and I improve my training skills. Regarding your question as to why I have chosen this particular subject, this is organization development, change management. Basically, yes, I've had a great service experience of nearly around, say, 31 years in the organization. I personally feel that I would do a good, I mean, I would learn better skills as a person who's looking ahead to changing, making it some change in the organization, development in the organization, and how to manage the change, how to go ahead with the accepting the change, because insurance sector is opening up again. Earlier we opened up in 2000, we opened up to private players. Presently we are having 49% inclusion of our private insurers. We have 24 companies. But now we have another change which is coming up. The Life Insurance Corporation is going into the IPO stage. And we expect that there will be some great changes because we will be having some shareholders who will be, a part of our organization, who will be looking after their own interests also. So how do we manage that change? How do we, take care? How do we prepare our people for, the incoming changes? That's my object. So that's how I, thought that I would, understand the great skills, understand, how to manage the change in this particular subject. That's I look forward to your inputs, and I'm sure I'll be getting a lot of benefit out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruchi. Thank you. That was very nice. Yeah, great, great beginnings. So let's hear others along the same lines. This is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. Ruchi, please keep your camera on. Yeah, right. Who's the next person?
Hi, my name is Arun Saluja. I lead the training and development function for Dhanuka Agritech Limited. We are into crop protection business, and I lead the training function. Now, talking of specifically why this OD and change management, last year I got an opportunity to work along with OD function also in the HR, which was of high interest for me. And then at the same time, to be honest, I would also want to see the curriculum at talent management, because that also becomes some part of my role, because I'm also involved in a lot of assessment centers and development centers for the organization, identifying hypos, etc. Yeah.
What are you looking forward from the OD course?
So, ma'am, typically, like I said, that when we talk of organization development, and since we are an organization, we are into again a transformation phase. So how do we develop an organization, and as a HR function, how do we add value to the complete sales, complete marketing, and other related function? That's what my key expectation from this particular course would be.
Yeah. Anything more you want to say?
Not at this point in time. Might be once we evolve and I'll be able to add certain more inputs. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun. Sakshi.
Hello. Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hi, this is Sakshi, and I belong from psychology background. And I did attend your last subject that was on experiential learning. And that's like the one of the reason that I chose OD, as in I really wanted to learn back from you. And along with that, with regards to change management, yes, when I come from psychology background, I'm working as a wellness coach. for an MNC, and that requires me to understand change as well as part my in knowledge about the change management to the other admins as a whole. So this course will enlighten me through all the different, I think, strategies and how we can contribute to organizational development. So that was the reason I chose this subject. Yeah.
Thank you, Sakshi. Uh, is it that I'll have to call out everyone's name or will you volunteer? You're all trainers by profession, right? In some way or the other. Follow me. Arpita. Yeah, Arpita. You have to unmute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Uh, Good afternoon, ma'am. Actually, frankly speaking, I do not have any experience as a trainer. So I have just joined this course because I want to get into training. And I chose OD. Honestly speaking, it's a clean slate for me. I have joined it because change management is something that interests me. I would be interested in knowing how change comes about in organizations and how we can be, a resource to bring it around and what goes behind it. So that is all. It's something that interests me really.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Arpita.
Thank you.
Who else? Nivedita. Nivedita, are you there or Chandralekha?
Chandralekha, working in as extension officer and giving training to the farmers and the laborers mainly. And I prefer this ODA development course.
Chandralekha, if you're speaking, we can't hear you because you're muted. I think maybe some Chandralekha, are you there? Maybe some problem. Amar Kamath. Not there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I have been into marketing and sales for a few years down the line, but however, I am aspiring to become a trainer in the coming years. I would like to launch my own training, soft skills training firm, which will be focused onto pharma. But however, this OD and change management is a topic which I believe will give me holistic view of understanding change and managing change. And at the same time, in the later part of career, of course, I would move to become a consultant for pharma companies. And obviously, this will help me in a broader perspective. So that's what, rather than opting for the second option, that was talent management, which somewhere relates more of with the HR, and which is also again a part of this bigger topic, OD and change. So I feel this is the right option for me.
Mhm. Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, Sonal.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I have an experience into HR, defense, and now I took a deep dive in training. My expectations, basically, I chose this OD and change management primarily because I found it to be more broader as compared to the other option of talent management, and wanted to understand what it takes for an organization to develop in terms of what are the intervention strategies. And change is something which is inevitable. And like I have seen the companies, how they have embraced change during pandemic. So what all it took, to the bottom line, how to get that change and enabled every person to embrace that change and work to their basic vision and mission during this pandemic. So that basically, attracted me to take on this particular subject as compared to the other one.
Okay, thank you.
Right, ma'am?
Okay. Okay. Chandralekha. Okay, no problem. Who else is here? Yes, Rajni.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I'm Rajnikant Singh. I'm working with the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. I'm working as an deputy commandant over there. I've been associated with this organization for the past 10 years. Prior to working with this organization, I had worked as a freelance soft skills trainer. I was associated with a as a organization. Like chosen CM because I want to gather much more knowledge regarding this organizational development. At present, I'm heading United Nations Police Center for India, and I'm doing training also. That's it, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else would like to share? Okay, then I'm not going to spend more time on this activity, but I would definitely say to you that the first step to training is to open yourself out and to speak about yourself. And if we are hesitant to do that, it may be a good idea to ask ourselves what prevents us from doing so. Yeah. So here are some of what I have captured while you were speaking. And I see it as that mostly the issues that have come up is learning about change management, how to be a catalyst for change, how change happens, and what could be the strategies to contribute to change management. Right. So I guess by the time we finish all our classes, we would have addressed your concerns regarding change management. Organization development and change management are two separate processes. Organization development Yeah. So before I start, let me tell you that I have referred in what I'm going to share with you. And today, primarily, we are going to discuss around definitions to know the scope and the intention or purpose of organization development. And the book that I've referred to are two books primarily. Theory of Organization Development and Change by Thomas G. Cummings and Christopher J. Burley, and Organization Development, Wendell H. French and Cecil Bell Jr. And I have looked at some articles which are published on organization development. So Edgar Sheehan now your question would become, who is Edgar Sheehan? So he was born on March 5, 1928. He was a former professor at the MIT Sloan School of Management, and he made a notable mark on the field of organization development in many areas, including career development, group processes, consultation, and organization culture. So his definition of OD is that born out of first distinguishing what an organization is and what is development. So an organization is the planned coordination of the activities of a number of people for the achievement of some common explicit purpose or goal through the division of labor and function and through a hierarchy of authority and responsibility. This we all understand. Is there anything you want me to explain in this? Please feel free to ask and I will amplify. If you don't ask, I will assume that you have understood. So I hope we have that understanding between us. Don't surprise me by keeping quiet and then later on saying, oh, but we didn't understand something. The development is the act, process, result, or state of being developed, which in turn means to advance, to promote the growth of, to evolve the possibility of, to further, to improve, or to enhance something. So organization and development means these two things. When you further improve or enhance something. So he says two elements stand out. Development may be an act, process, or end state, or it may be bettering something. So OD is the act, process, or result of furthering, advancing, or promoting the growth of an organization. So please mark These last words, growth of an organization. It must result in bettering and effecting a change in the growth of organization. Very often, the end result of training, we do not measure. We look at it as, although its intention is to improve and promote, but the measurement sometimes we do and sometimes we do not do. However, in OD, it is a must. The OD approach to change treats the organization as a system. So it's not a sporadic effort that or one-off interventions. Where in training and development, sometimes what we do is we announce a program and we ask people to volunteer into that program, or the boss nominates people to attend the program. However, in a whole department, there may be one or two people who attend a particular training program. So we are not changing the system. We may be looking at changing individuals, but the OD, when you do an OD intervention, you address the entire system, the interrelated parts. So a system is a group of logically related parts, principles, and beliefs. Alternatively, it is a group or arrangement that relate to or interact with each other in such a way as to form a whole. Thus, this approach has the following characteristics. Total view, not a limited view. Relationship between organization and the environment and the internal dynamics of the organization. Teams, whether they are temporary, semi-permanent, permanent, leading to their continuous improvement. Improvement in interpersonal communication. Individuals' self-awareness, self-acceptance, development of skill, knowledge, and ability. So, let me give you an example. Supposing I were to ask you that you studied the results of an employment engagement survey, which was conducted on the entire cadre of the organizations, executives, supervisors, workers. And you found in the data that there is a particular age group in which, let's say, the young workers, executives, and artisans, whose engagement level in the organization is not high, and yet they have 20, 25 years to go. And if you ask them the question that what is the lifespan that you see for yourself in the organization, and they say that we choose to retire from this organization. So what does it mean, this data mean for you as a trainer? Then you are looking at this data, and what would OD mean in the context of your understanding of this data? I want you to switch on your cameras and talk. Are you there? Any of you there? Hello, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, we are very much here.
Okay. There was such a dead silence that I
We're
began
trying
to.
to digest the questions.
Huh?
Ma'am, if I understand the question is that particular segment of the employees, they're in through the engagement survey, we found they are not actually engaged, but when we have word to word, they said they would like to retire, which is contradictory.
No, no,
No.
no, 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 no. They said they would like to, yeah, right, Sonal. Okay, I didn't get it properly. That they would like to leave the organization at the age of 60.
Yeah, basically they would like to retire from here. So now your question is what, I mean, that is what I couldn't get the essence of the question.
What intervention? At what levels are you going to intervene?
Right from the very beginning of induction.
Yeah. See, typically, what would be a training outlook? To improve the engagement of the young people. Is that correct? What training will you give if you're looking at the data? What are you going to do? You're going to get worried about the fact that this particular age group is not engaged. So you will start doing interventions so that you can increase the effectiveness, the engagement of these youngsters. Because nobody wants to be saddled with a group of people who are not fully engaged, but who want to spend time in the company, which means that you are going to have a lot of dead wood to carry, who are not giving their 100% in the organization. Is that correct? At least say yes or no.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, of course.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
So, ma'am, my point is that since you said that these might be dead woods because they are not engaged, right? Now, for every reason, training might not be the solution, right? So it's very important from the OD perspective to first find out why are they not engaged, right?
Good.
It could be because of compensation. It could be because of the culture of the organization. It could be because they might not be at the right role. It could be because what they are doing they are not enjoying. So what I feel, I have a little difference of opinion over here. That might be training is not the solution for all the problems. That's it from my side. Thanks.
Yeah, right. Carry on. You're saying correctly. Yeah, that's precisely what my question is. That
Yeah.
from an OD perspective versus the training perspective, what are you going to do? So
I
what
think
you are saying,
the first thing is to identify what is the reason why they are not engaged.
Correct. Absolutely.
To diagnose that why they are not engaged, and this is that the corrective action needs to be taken, and that's it. Yeah.
Corrective action with whom?
Corrective action basis the problem statement.
But with which group will you target?
Again, depending on the problem. So might be, as I said, if there is a problem in the compensation, they are not engaged because of the compensation policy of the organization. They are not engaged because of the culture of the organization. They are not, might be they're into comfort zone. And so if they are into comfort zone, then the problem statement, the target group becomes the same group on which is going into a deadwood category. So depending on the problem, the solution would be designed and the target group would be identified.
Yeah. So it will not just be the target group, but target groups.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is bringing about a change in the entire organizational structure. So the influence of the people on them, which is causing their disengagement, the influence of systems and processes, which is causing the disengagement, right? So if we take only the training perspective, supposing you were to take only the training perspective, then what would happen? You would simply train these people in engagement, right? But when you look at it from an OD perspective, you will first do a diagnosis. You will find out what the elements are in the total system, which, as you rightly said, it could be system, it could be process, it could be the way their leaders deal with them, it could be delegation issues, it could be the reward recognition part, it could be work-life balance, the culture of the organization. And when we begin to intervene, we are going to do simultaneous intervention on all the people, beginning from the top. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So
So
I
that
just
would
again,
be the difference between OD and a training intervention.
Yeah.
Good. Participate. Now, why you people so?
So I will just add an example to this. So before in my current assignment, I was into training, and I was working with a learning organization called NIS Sparta, which some of you might be aware of. Especially, ma'am, with you also, we have partnered in the past while you were in BHEL. So I was with NIS Sparta. So we were contacted by one of the organization. I'll not name the client. So what happened? They told us that they've got new management trainees who would be joining from premium institute, pedigree institutes, right? And there were existing staff members also who were already there doing that particular role in a factory for last 20 years. Now, when these MTs joined at a similar role, there was a lot of disengagement. Now, when we identified the real problem after doing that diagnostic study, we said it's not the training, it's because the change management has not happened with them. So there is an insecurity in your people. Yeah, these management training who have just passed out of campus are being paid better than us, and we are doing a similar job from last 20 years. And now these people might be tomorrow managing us. So there was a lot of disengagement, and none of them felt of leaving the organization. So it was not the training which was required, but a change management and sensitizing them about why people have been hired for that role, so on and so forth, was required.
Thank you, Arun. That was valuable. So the case that I am talking about, I will take it up further in your later on classes. But this was to just bring to you that in OD, that there is a system which we try to change. It is not a limited view, but a total view. The relationship between the organization, the environment, and internal dynamics of the organization. So what Arun was talking about. So teams are handled interpersonal communication and individual and self. So the whole system is touched rather than just parts of the system. Now, the definition by Warren Brook is that OD is a planned process of change in an organization culture through the utilization of behavioral science technology, research, and theory. So therefore, when we say behavioral science, it looks at how the change will affect people, what needs to change, what is happening to these people, so on and so forth. So definition of OD by Wendell French. OD refers to a long range effort. It's not short, it is a long range effort to improve an organization's problem solving capabilities and its ability to cope with changes in its external environment with the help of external or internal behavioral scientists, consultants, or change agents, as they are sometimes called. And Michael Beer, he said, OD is a system-wide process of data collection, diagnosis, action planning, intervention, and evaluation, something like what Arun was speaking of, aimed at enhancing congruence among organizational structure, process, and culture, developing new and creative organizational solutions, and developing the organization's self-renewing capacity. Like, for instance, in one organization, they decided to have a change in the structure of the organization. So they decided to introduce 12 new departments. How did they introduce it? They made a circular that henceforth, this is what the department is going to be called. They gave one general outline of what work the department is supposed to do, or the new division is supposed to do. They said XYZ, 20 people will be transferred from XYZ places to form the core team of the entire department. And that mail was circulated to the head of whoever was supposed to be the head of that department. Now, what do you think must have happened after that? Such a mail went to about 10, 12 people. What do you think must have happened after that in the organization? आप लोग बिल्कुल नहीं बोलते हैं, नहीं?
Ma'am, it might be lack of clarity and chaos.
Right.
Because there would be not much sense of involvement and leadership.
Absolutely correct. And so what does lack of participation do to change management?
Ma'am, I think different opinions will be created, and
right.
Of course.
So what will people be doing in the organization for the first 10, 12 days? So Sonal rightly said, lack of participation, lack of involvement in the decision-making process, and lack of leadership. So when we say lack of leadership, I can tell you in one of the department, for the next 10 days, the leader itself went on holiday. And so the rest of the people down there, what do you think they must have done for those 10 days? And I'm bringing you live examples, what I have experienced myself. So what do you think people must have done?
A lot of chaos and confusion must have been there. Like, since there wouldn't have been anyone to like guide them or lead them. So like the organization itself would have been like a rudderless ship moving forward.
Absolutely. So there was complete paralysis.
Waste of
yes, Sonal. Good. Tell me.
It is directly waste of man-hours. So many man-hours.
So many man-hours and so much of emotional energy gets expended in nothing, right? So that is why he's saying enhancing congruence among organizational structure, process, and culture, developing new and creative solutions, developing organizational renewal capacity, right? So this is, you're creating a change, thrusting it upon the organization, and then there is no one to explain the change, communicate the change, understand from people what their discomfort with the changes, and then what is the new role requirement, what is the training requirement to fit these people into the new roles, what are the resources which are required. So it's not a system-wide change. It is just one decision to make a change because this is good for the organization, and that's it. Dump the circular. Somebody sitting in the high up place, they decide that this is good for the organization, and there comes. So when somebody asks, so what are we supposed to do? There is another manual which is brought out of 3-4 pages. Please study it, and all the changes are explained in that. So a lot of the organization's time, almost 4, 5, 6 months, went absolutely deadlocked, because when the teams were constituted, there were a lot of people who were transferred from different units to be brought in. Now the comfort or discomfort level of the people was also not checked with, and therefore there is children, there is children's education, there is housing problem, there are so many issues which are involved in the transfer, and lot of people spend their time approaching higher authorities, higher in different higher quarters, in order to stop their transfers. And so these processes continue to plague the organization at a time when it was loss making, and apparently this structure was changed in order to increase the profitability of the organization. So when we do not do a all-round research, data collection, diagnosis, and we plan some action and dump it on people, then it cannot be said to fall into the definition of organization development. Okay. Now, Michael Beer. It occurs through the collaboration of organizational members working with a change agent. As Sonal said, that there was no participation. It occurs through the, okay, this is repeated, I'm sorry. Okay, this is a repetition, sorry, I apologize. So it occurs through the collaboration of organizational members working with a change agent using behavioral science theory, research, and technology. Then we come to Warren Brook and David Bradford, whose is more the latest definition. They based it on a set of values, largely humanistic. So what are humanistic values? This is an easy question. What are humanistic values?
Is it something employee friendly?
Yes. So sensitive to people's feelings, emotions, to what
Morality,
they are.
ma'am.
Huh?
Ethics and morality would also be humanistic.
Yeah. And compassion, empathy,
Compassion, dignity,
involving, right? That and then aim towards the happiness of humanity to bring out their potential, because it is about development. Is that right? Application of behavioral sciences. OD is a system-wide process of planned change aimed towards improving organizational effectiveness by way of enhanced congruence of such key dimensions as external environment, mission, strategy, leadership, culture, structure, information, reward system, works and policy. And lastly, the definition of Burley and Fairtham. And they said for a process to be called OD, it must focus on or result in the change of some aspect of the organization's system. There must be learning or transfer of knowledge and skills to the client system. Okay, I'll read out an illustration for you and that will make it clearer. There must be evidence of improvement in or an intention to improve the effectiveness of the client system. It should not be I am an external consultant, I come, I give the training. Doesn't matter if you change, it's your call. If you don't change, it's your call, right? I needn't labor so much to ask you questions, to ask you to switch on your video and you switch it off again. But I do have an intention and I do understand that unless there is face-to-face communication and there is a personal touch to the whole thing, it's all going to be, OD is otherwise going to be very theoretical, because unless you are involved in the process, there is much little sense that it's going to make to you. But at the end of the day, I say it's your call, right? But in OD, we don't do that. We make sure that we facilitate the process of improving the effectiveness of the client system. So, yes, Sonal.
Ma'am, in client system includes the employees and also the customers and everyone?
No, yeah, whoever you have gotten into contract with.
Right, 360, everyone.
Everyone.
Right, thank you.
Right. We will see later on what effects OD is supposed to have and what systems it is supposed to touch. So we say that there is a slight different emphasis in each of the definition. Brooks' description focuses attention on culture as the target of change. French's definition is concerned with OD's long-term interest and the use of consultants. Beckhardt and Beer's definition address the process of OD, and more recently, Brooke and Beckhardt definition broadens the range and interests of OD. So how do you differentiate OD from other planned change approaches, right? OD is not the only planned change approach. There are many planned change approaches. So the first is that OD applies to change in strategy, structure, or processes of an entire system, such as an organization, a single plant or a multi-plant, a department or work groups, or individual role or job. So it applies to every. How does it differ from training in this? Can anybody enumerate? How does it differ from training, a simple training process?
Okay, so let's understand this with the help of an example. So for example, an organization wants to develop a communication skills for a set of audience what it is doing, it is just doing a training program for that set of audience. Now, when we talk of change management, whether we have, so how the change happened or how the intervention was introduced, whether the buy-in of leadership team of managers were taken on that particular intervention, were they aligned, were the inputs taken into that, were they also involved post-training on the measurement effect that, how have people improved, or while the training is just focusing on set of audience on whom we want to develop. I think that's how the difference comes in. Thanks.
Good. So they are involved in the design. The different stakeholders are involved while training. Like for instance, if supposing I am talking to the youngsters and they say we have difficulty in communicating to our seniors. And the seniors, when I'm talking to them, they say we have difficulty in communicating to the juniors because they are forever playing on their cell phones. They are not punctual. They are this, they are that, blah, 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 100,000 things. Now, so where am I going to intervene? Will I just intervene separately with these people? Will I intervene separately with these people? Or will I do some separate interventions with these two and then eventually bring them together and help them have a face-to-face dialogue in which they are not fighting with one another, but are able to come to some agreement about how communication can progress smoothly. And then we look at it post-training till we ensure that the change has actually taken place. And that the change has taken place, both people should say. The seniors should say how they have changed, and the juniors should verify that the seniors have changed in this way, and vice versa. So the whole system gets touched and not sporadic parts. Okay, very good. Nice. Thank you, Arun. Then the second part is OD is based on application and transfer of behavioral science knowledge and practice, including such things as micro concepts such as leadership, group dynamics, work design, macro approaches such as strategy, organization design, international relations. As distinguished from technical change, operations management that emphasize management, financial systems, technical aspects of an organization. Third thing, OD, differentiate OD from other planned change approach. Concerned with managing planned change, it is an adaptive process for planning and implementing change rather than a blueprint of how things should be done. So like a consultant may come in and tell you, these are, give you advice on these are the various things that need to be done, submit a report and go away. No, in OD, you will not just diagnose, but you will and submit a report, but you will actually carry out the actions required based on whatever has been diagnosed. It involves planning to diagnose and solving organizational problems, but such plans are flexible and often revised as change progresses. Then fourth, from other planned approaches, it involves the design, implementation, and reinforcement of the change. So it's not a one-time intervention that you've intervened, you have done whatever you need to do. Like for instance, what I am doing with you is a one-time intervention. I do this lecture, I go away. I do 4, 5, 6 lectures and I go away. What have you learned? What have you not learned? So there needs to be a reinforcement of change You had interest in change management. Change is not easy, right? You make action plan and resolve at the beginning of the year. I will not do this, I will not do this, I will do this, I will do this, I will do that. We are into September. I'm asking how many of you remember your New Year resolution? Please raise your hand. You have a button. Even if you don't want to talk, you can do that at least. Okay, all right. So let's do one intervention with the group. What does this silence mean to me? What should it mean to me? How should I interpret your silence?
So, I think I'm sorry I'm calling it out. It might sound as if people are not interested.
Yeah. No, I'm not making a guess, Arun. I just want to know how I should interpret Arun's silence.
So again, there could be different interpretation because interpretation.
No. Right now, how should I interpret Arun's silence?
I think interpretation would be in a way that yes, there needs to be more involvement in the group. Involvement of the group.
So how do we create the involvement, Arun?
Like the first thing you did was you asked us to switch on the cameras, because when we switch on the cameras, we are sure that we are physically there and there is an eye on us. So that's psychologically, yes, somebody is watching us and we are present. So that was first thing which you did. And second thing, what you're also doing repeatedly is seeking inputs, right? As to involve, yes. So what would be your input on that? What is your interpretation? So involving that way. So I think that's
okay. And when people don't get involved, when questions are asked, then how should that silence be interpreted? Let's do some OD here.
Ma'am, that means after lunch, people are actually, relaxing. Sunday lunch.
Okay. Okay. Everyone is relaxing. They are saying, let her speak, let her ask, let her say, our attendance has got registered anyway. Okay. That is one. What about the others? Arun is actively participating. Sonal is actively participating. So I know that at least I have an audience of 2. If I don't address the others, at least I'm addressing 2 people. All right. And Rajni also interacts once in a while. Where is the rest of the group? अब हम ओडी की बात कर रहे हैं ना, तो ये इस पूरे सिस्टम में बाकी के लोग भी हैं, और अगर आप बोर हो रहे हैं तो आप को कहने में क्या दिक्कत है, ये भी मैं समझना चाहती हूँ. पहले तो आप अपना कैमरा ऑन करिए. एवरीबॉडी प्लीज स्विच ऑन योर कैमरा. You're all intelligent, sharp, because I saw you in the first at least 6, 7, 8 of you. You have no reason to switch off your camera, first of all. All right, let me see the other people also. Okay. Chandralekha has some difficulties. Where are the others? Yes, Rajni, wonderful. Okay. So in the group right now, people are unwilling to change, unwilling to open, unwilling to, in spite of all these invitations. How are we going to make them change? अब बताओ. ये भी तो एक organization है ना. So what should we do to change this scenario? This is the current problem I am raising with the group. OD typically would also address issues like this. No? Why are there silences? Why are only some people speaking? What are the group dynamics? So let's address this issue.
So
Okay,
for that,
you're in hospital, Ranjita, so therefore you're not able to switch on. Very good. At least I have a response. And I appreciate that being in hospital also you're participating. Yeah.
Ma'am, we'll start with TNA at individual level.
Huh? Sorry, Sonal.
We'll start the need analysis at the individual level. I mean, analysis basically at the individual level, participant wise.
Huh.
Why it's not happening?
Why it's not happening? So start it for me, Sonal. Just start the process.
Okay. So there is Durga Mehrotra.
See, we have some. Amrita has a problem with camera. Sakshi is in office and Ranjita is in hospital, right? So we can skip them and then let's ask why people are not participating and why are their cameras switched off and why they do not respond to questions. Come, Sonal.
Yeah.
Then
Hi,
somebody
Durga.
else can take over.
Yeah. Hi, Durga. Can I have your mic on? Are you there? Hi, Durga Mehrotra. I'm just trying to speak to you. Are you there? Amar, you're there?
so Sonal, the problem is I think people are not there. So for solving a problem, there has to be audience. So I think audience itself is absent in this case.
Yeah, Rajni is there. Mahesh Batra. Are you there? Mahesh, can you hear me? Polami Ganguly. She's there, sorry. Okay. Polami, can I ask you what reason do you find like people are not participating, or you can zero down to your own inputs? Like if you, I don't know, I don't remember whether you participated or not, but is there any reason which we can zero down that we as a group, we are not participating today in this wonderful session by ma'am, which we have already witnessed in our previous session of experiential training? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Polami. I can't hear your audio.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much.
Okay. Sometimes I feel maybe we are unsure of your answers, or maybe yeah, that may be one reason, or maybe we wait for the other person to answer first and see if what we are thinking is matching to what they are saying. So we are in the correct, aligned to the right way of thinking actually. Sometimes there may be a knowledge gap why people keep quiet. And sometimes even there might be reason that people know, but still they prefer not to answer because they don't want to share. They would like to know it from the other person. However, they would like to keep their thought process to themselves. So there may be different reasons of
Right,
silence.
right, right. Thank you. Amrita, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Amrita, can you just
Hello.
answer this? Like, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You can hear me, ma'am.
Can you, yeah, can you answer, like, what do you think are the reason why the group as a whole is not participative in this particular session? Any inputs to that? Or you yourself have not participated, if that be, like ma'am wanted to know individually also.
Yes, ma'am, at times there are some problems, maybe like for me today, my camera is not working. So I'm trying to switch on to my mobile network and then coming back to the laptop. That can be a reason. Some people, like one of the reasons I saw, they are in the office, so maybe they are not comfortable to switch on the camera or participate in the session. Maybe the background is such wherein there is a lot of maybe family around, or and along with that they are in the session, so it becomes a bit of a challenge for them to participate and say something.
But
And
what
because
about
of
the
that, the
option?
concentration. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, what about the usage of chat box? I mean, that doesn't, restrict anyone
Yes,
to use.
that, yes, absolutely. You're right, ma'am. That doesn't restrict anyone to do. They can do that as well by writing something on the chat box, whatever the
Right,
reasoning is.
right. Thank you, Amrita. Soumya,
You're
can I
welcome.
have you on this?
Sonal, hi. Can I answer that? I'm sorry I
Yeah,
missed you.
please, sure, sure.
Sonal,
Mahesh,
it's not about what people are not responding. I think beyond to that point, it is more about all of us being experienced candidate and people who've spent some time in training or into their individual domain. I think people are trying to observe as to how does the first session go, which generally happens in any or every training or learning session, because you put some observations before responding to any point. So I think beyond to people not taking efforts, I think next session onwards, this looks going to be effortless from any and everybody.
yeah, thanks, Mahesh. But I think what I've learned in this training of ICD is adult learning is more into, participation, exchanging the knowledge both ways.
Certainly agree, Sonal, but at the same time, observing and putting it to a right point, knowing that you've spent some time in training or maybe any department. It's also to a point that whatever you're saying, knowing that we call ourselves influencers, hence it is important that whatever you're saying should be at the right side of the group. So putting
Right,
that perception being as human and especially Indians, I think that can be one logic there.
right. Thank you. Arun, you want
What
to
is
take on
your
after here?
what is your reason, Mahesh? Sonal, you're asking each
Yeah,
person their reason. So
yeah.
now they
Mahesh,
are moving away to the group. See, be
right.
sensitive to that. Yeah. So what is
Yeah,
Mahesh's reason?
Uh, Precisely the reason that I just shared.
No, no, you
Being
say I,
so
Mahesh.
yeah, yeah. So precisely the reason. I mean, with a group of about 15 people, including you. Especially when I go and attend and probably observe a lot of sessions of my team and my managers, senior managers, when they deliver session, and I go sit down to understand as to what is the pathway and strategy forward. I generally observe as to how the so it's like a river. I mean, how is that the river is flowing, and where is that the wind is flowing before to probably enter into the participation mode is the only point. I don't think so. There's any other point.
but Mahesh,
I as an individual have spent 2 decades in learning and development specifically, and I heads the training as a vertical for an organization, and that's the only criteria that I put forward today. Otherwise, I don't think so there's any reason. I mean, me being an influencer for a lot of people across 22,000 employees is the only point that I'll probably put forward today.
Right. Arun, you want to take on from here?
Sonal, I think you have covered most of them. People
Yeah,
are present.
yeah.
So, but Mahesh, I would just add on to it. Here, what our role is a little different from that, than that of a training head, or here we ourselves are participants. So, from that perspective, I think observation, being an observer, I think we are wearing a different hat over here. That's my feeling. That's what I would like to just add on.
Mr. Saluja, I don't agree to your point, but somewhere saying that you spend some time into a particular department. I mean, it's like your DNA, right? I mean, changing a DNA, wearing a different hat every day may not be a quick, easy point. But yes, agree to disagree that learning and unlearning is the only point that an adult learning specifically talked about. So yes, I agree. We wear a different hat, but somewhere being an individual and a human, that's one reason which always add up to a lot of us. I mean, not just you, me, or anybody else, but it's to everybody.
Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks for your inputs. Thank you. Respect that.
Okay, so where are we? OD is supposed to be participative. Some of us are scared, some of us are observing me, some of us are wanting to learn theoretically, and OD is participative. अब क्या करें? So that's the point. That OD is so change basically means, first of all, willing to experiment, willing to take the risk, willing to break from what we have defined for ourselves, and learning to be flexible. So that is why when we say planned change for OD, we say that this is not a fixed planned change. The plan itself keeps evolving depending upon the type of groups and the types of problems that we keep encountering along the way. It's okay? So thank you, Sonal and Arun, for taking the lead and for trying to facilitate the group. All right. Next differentiation is that OD is oriented to improving the organization's effectiveness, and effectiveness is measured along 3 dimensions. One, which I said, that the organization becomes more adaptive. OD helps organization members gain the skill and knowledge necessary to conduct these activities by involving them in the change process. Is it okay? So whenever we learn a new knowledge, it's a change, an inner change, either in our intellectual understanding or in our skill or in our attitude. But it is through being what you are calling or we are saying as the adult learning process. So it's not about passive learning. I'm sitting there, I'm sitting and I'm understanding and I'm trying to see, the credentials of this person, but it is engaging, jumping into the learning process, experimenting, So what if you're wrong? This is not the end of the world. You learn. We learn better, right? So an effective organization has high financial and technical performance, including sales growth, accept. So it must result in these outputs, quality products and high productivity and better products and services. And it must have better customers. So the characteristics of OD are, just to summarize, it is a system-wise process, it is value-based, it is collaborative, it is based on behavioral science knowledge, it is concerned with strategies, structures, processes, people, and culture. It is about organizational effectiveness. And I want to end by showing you two slides that change management and OD, they differ in their approach, application, scope, process, effort, engagement, knowledge, and skills transfer. So in OD, the whole system, which focuses on holistic organization-wide frameworks, whereas in change management, it may be specific to a particular field, it may be, and process duration, OD does not have an end date, it is continuous improvement, whereas change management will have a starting and an ending date. The effort focus of OD is how the system functions, and change management is how to motivate employees in changing how they execute their works. That is, the focus is on people. Engagement level, designing activities to change higher order organizational components, and change management focuses on systematic and frequent method to ease individual uh, and individual changes and employee process, and knowledge and skills transfer, concerned with the transfer of knowledge and skills, and in change management not necessarily required. So 5 stems of OD practice. The first was the laboratory method. So what I did briefly over here with you, very briefly, although it was just a 10-15 minute intervention, is part of laboratory method. That in small group, you let people participate, seek feedback from them, make them disclose, self-disclosure, and see what effect each person is having on the other person and the system. So next time I'm going to do these in detail with you. The second stream is action research survey feedback. Third is participative management. Fourth is quality of work life and strategic change. So over the years, this is how the 5 stems of OD practice have grown. And we are going to now, after next class onwards, start looking at each one of these stems of OD. And so with this, we come to the closure of today's session. Always remember that OD, the orientation is on action, achieving desired results as a consequence of painful activities. The setting is the real organization in the real world. So these are the definitions, the quest, the focus of OD efforts in an organization. Is that okay with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah?
ma'am.
Okay. So next time we will start looking at the different models of how OD works is done in organization. So we will obviously be able to look only at 2, 3 models, but uh, the rest, of course, when your interest gets triggered, you can look at the other models. I'll mostly try to do appreciative inquiry with you. I will do a little bit on T groups, sensitivity training, laboratory method with you, which will include participatory methods. And I will try to do action research method of OD. So these 3 I will try to do with you, and then we will look at change management in the last 2 sessions. So this will be the plan. Is it okay? But
Yeah.
definitely.
Another thing from the activity which we were doing, where me and Mahesh were involved in a discussion, identifying why people are not participating. I also have another input to just while I'm thinking, because might be people are conscious because the session is being recorded. That could be another possible reason which I think of.
Definitely.
Thanks.
That is definitely.
There is something I just wanted to add. I'm not remembering the exact terminology, but I read in psychology, actually, there was one incident that there was a murder which took place, and there were many neighbors who witnessed, but no one came forward. So there was something like when people were inquired that why didn't you come and help the victim, they said we thought the other people were also there, they would come front and help the person. So there is some effect, like you generally tend to think the other person would answer. In this particular case, in this particular session, you generally don't come out because you think the other person, there's so many people, they would come out with their answers. So that's why you are little, a step back. I mean, that is a particular effect when there are many people in a particular group. I am not recollecting exactly what do you say that. Some effect is there.
Okay. So maybe Sonal, you can look up the word and educate us next time.
Right.
And for Arun's, it is the Hawthorne effect, where people perform because they are conscious of being watched, right? So that was the experiment which was carried out on workers. So their performance rose because they thought that people are watching them. However, in terms of group dynamics, it is a fact that in the beginning of the session, each one, we call it as the goblet, it's like when you go to a party that you are each viewing one another from your wine glass goblet. हाँ कि अच्छा वो मेरे बारे में कैसे सोच रहा है, how am I appearing to the other person, this is my stature, so I don't know what they will think, कहीं मैं गलत आंसर ना दे दूं, उसको बोलने दो, मैं देखती हूँ कि मैं देखता हूँ कि मैं ठीक हूँ या नहीं हूँ. So those anxieties are common in the beginning of a group life. But as people open up, talk, then we create a safety zone as we go along, that it's fine to make mistakes, and that's fine. And there's nothing, I mean, where people are concerned, I personally feel there is nothing like a mistake. And what is it? I'm not marking you. Nobody is marking you over here. And what people think anyway is their own way of thinking. So when we don't sit on our fears, anxieties, laurels, observations, but naturally, this is also the way Rajni, what are you saying? In that case, the people who are highly experienced must involve. वही तो होता है ना, it is not here. ये जो आपके emotions हैं, they are more powerful than the knowledge. और ये beginning of the group life में ये हमेशा होता है कि people are very anxious, performance anxieties होती हैं because you don't know how people are going to gauge you. So it could be because you're being recorded, it could be because you don't know how my colleagues will take it. You may be thinking how the authority will take it, or you may think I myself am the authority. So therefore, let me see what this authority figure sitting here, does she know, does she not know? So all these issues go on behind the learning process. So that is natural, and that's how groups progress. Then they get, when they open up and they talk of what's happening to them, then we collectively address them, and that's the only way that the whole system can change. Yeah. So this is from my side for today, and I hope you enjoyed your class. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye bye.
Much.